It's the Behind the Shade show.
And self-esteem is really, it's the reputation that we have with ourselves. All right. And what he says is that there are three levels of self-esteem. There is dependent self-esteem, independent self-esteem, and then unconditional self-esteem. And when we're children, right, our reputation with ourself, our self-esteem is derived through how other people see us and how other people treat us. So we see ourselves according to how our parents and our caregivers see us. Okay. And oftentimes we don't get enough dependent self-esteem. We don't get to develop an adequate sense, a healthy sense of who we are. And he says that in order to ascend to the next level, we need to first get enough of the previous level. It's epigenetic. So we have to, in order to transition to independent self-esteem, this is where my self-image, my reputation with myself is derived internally, right? Exactly what you're saying. So how do we get there? The challenge is that so many of us were not given enough dependent self-esteem. We weren't raised into adulthood with a healthy sense of who we are. And what happens then is that we end up getting caught in the endless cycle of seeking validation, looking to others and their opinion of us to feel good about ourselves. And the same comes with the definition of success. If we don't have a healthy level of independent self-esteem, then our sense of self is being generated through the behaviors and the input we're getting from other people because we're stuck in that loop, right? We're still looking to other people to tell us how good we're doing. And so the real jump that we need to make in order to really to graduate and to start living as confident people and confident adults is we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people and and comparing our sense of self to how other people see us. And we have to start comparing ourselves to ourselves. We have to start generating our sense of self from the inside. And so when it comes to success, so often everyone's caught in that pattern of seeking validation. And so we're taking on the definitions of success that we were given from society. But the truth is that all growth is counterintuitive. It's the opposite of what we think. And really, success is like this thing that people want to achieve. But the problem is that most people want to achieve success and avoid failure, right? They want success and not failure. But success actually doesn't exist. Success is just the word that we've given to the result, to what happens when you step out towards a goal and you're prepared to make mistakes and you make mistakes and you learn from them and you continue to iterate and to grow, and all of a sudden you've achieved some some results, and we call that success. But it's not independent of this thing called failure. Success is kind of like the flag on the top of the mountain, but the mountain itself, that is failure. And failure is a very good thing. So we need to reorient our relationship to what is success, what is failure. And actually, it's the opposite of what we're taught because failure is what creates success.
I like the way you put that because that then allows the person not to be afraid to fail, right? But to be appreciative of it, to understand that in your example, right, the mountain is the failure. You may climb up, you slip. You may climb a little bit further, then you slip again. But once you climb it and put your flag on it, you've achieved something. Is that perspective hard for people to grasp, to accept that failure is not a bad thing, but something should be embraced?
It's part of the rewiring that I do with people. It's like we're all running the 1.0 version of our operating system. It's like we're all kind of running Windows 95 or Windows XP, And so every year, a new cell phone comes out, every few months a new version of iOS or Android comes out, and we're constantly upgrading. But how often are we actually upgrading our own operating system? And so the way that we do that is we are learning. I teach people to become conscious of and to discover their unconscious wiring, their unconscious beliefs. And when you start seeing some of the beliefs that you have about yourself and about the world, then we can start rewiring them. And so that's it. It's simple, but it's not easy. And it's like you can't. Now the new year is coming, and like everyone is going to be making New Year's resolutions, and so many of them I know are I want to get in shape, I want to lose weight, I want to eat better, right? Because I want to feel better and I want to look better. But the challenge is that in order to achieve that result, we've got to make new choices. I can't keep eating ice cream on the couch every night, watching TV till 11 o'clock at night and achieve that. I've got to make some new choices. So it's about learning how to create a new relationship with four very important things. I call them the four cuffs. All right. Cuff stands for comfort, uncertainty, failure, and fear. And most people, most of us have been raised in a world that teaches us that comfort is good and that should be our goal, that uncertainty is bad and should be avoided, that fear is also an unwanted and unnecessary experience that we should avoid, and that failure is the opposite of success and you should avoid it. But if we want to make any change, if we want to achieve anything, anybody who has ever achieved anything amazing in the world, they have a completely opposite relationship with these four things. And so when we step out of what's familiar to us, yes, terrain, the journey is uncomfortable, the journey is scary. But if you want to transform your life, you have to be willing to step into uncertainty, to get comfortable being uncomfortable, to increase the level of uncertainty that you're comfortable with, to embrace the creative power of failure, and to use fear as your compass. And so it's challenging, but you don't have to do it alone, right? And this is why making change on our own is so difficult, because it's like you're stepping into a new reality, you're stepping into a new identity. And yeah, you really do need a system, you need support. But when you have that and when you have the desire, change can happen very, very quickly. One of my mentors, a famous coach and author by the name of Steve Chandler, he says that it's never about how to, right? People say, well, how do I change? How do I do it? How do I deal with all this fear? How do I become more successful? How do I attract a better relationship? It's never about the how to. It's always about the want to. And if you want it enough, that desire will create the momentum, the motivation for you to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and to go on this journey to transform your life. And it's uncomfortable, but at some point, the pain of staying where you are now becomes greater than the discomfort of going on a growth journey. And that's usually the time when people reach out, when they say, I'm ready to do it. And that's when their want to is strong enough and really propels them into being able to make these kind of changes.